Hello, this is Legomygun, and in today's video we answer the question, can you beat Fallout 4 with only the ricochet perk? No, unfortunately you cannot, because the perk only works on enemies that have 100 health or have been damaged to 40% of their max health. Don't worry though, I found a mod that changes the perk so that it'll work with anyone at any amount of health. This video will also be, can you beat Fallout 4 with ricochets and rebounds, as I need a way to kill melee enemies. You'll see what that looks like later. I'd also like to thank Alexander Steckline for suggesting this video in the comments of my last video. Anyways, upon greeting the salesman, I named myself Uno Reverse card and gave myself a 10 in luck for the ricochet perk and a 10 in intelligence for the nerd rage perk, which I thought would be a good pairing perk. I also selected a 3 in charisma for the lone wanderer perk. Next, the bombs fell, so I went to the vault, skipped the boring stuff, grabbed the pimp boy, and exited the vault. I went to Sanctuary as usual to talk to Codsworth and build some fences to level up. I created the symbol I would wear if I was a superhero, and then proceeded to place more fences so that I could level up again, and picked the Ricochet and Nerd Rage perks. I then discovered Red Rocket and said hello to a local goodest boy. After that, I tested my new powers on the Raiders in Concord, and it went about as well as you might expect. I took lots of damage before I got the perk to go off, but once it finally did, I felt pretty awesome. I then hid from this melee guy as I had no way to deal with him, but I told him there was some free candy in a van nearby, and he took the bait. Inside, I did a lot of standing around and eating lead, but eventually started taking out the raiders one by one. By one? I had a lot of trouble with the melee guys, and I tried to take them out by alternative means, but nothing seemed to work. So after killing the last raider by leaving, I headed outside to execute my plan. For this plan to work, I would need caps, and to get to Good Neighbor. So I hit the road, trading with Carla at the usual spot, then Trudy. I did buy some stim packs, but mostly sold stuff. I also stopped by the Cambridge police station to talk to Dance, as I wasn't sure who I was siding with yet. I then discovered Green Tech and showed a raider my business card. Came across this balancing pistol. Thought it was interesting, then knocked it over and moved on. I then arrived at Bunker Hill and headed inside to trade some more. After that, I finally made it to good old Good Neighbor. Found what I was looking for and went back to Sanctuary to get the means to get said item. By that, I mean duplicating nuclear material. By the end, I had an absurd amount, so I made a withdrawal, and slowly, very slowly, ever so slowly, crossed the bridge and went through the woods, so frickin' slowly, all the way back to Good Neighbor. Once there, I gave Cleo enough nuclear material to destroy the world 2 times over, in exchange for a chest piece that deflects 10% melee damage back on your attacker. Put the rest of my materials in a workbench, traded for some stim packs, and then headed out to Diamond City. Now just to clarify, I have to have something to deal damage to melee units, as there are some enemies that must be killed, and I wouldn't be able to do any damage without this chest piece. And technically, it's still ricochet damage, just not with bullets. Anyways, I made it to Diamond City with the rest of my materials in the workbench and headed back to the museum, where I was thoroughly disappointed in the amount of damage the raiders were taking. Eventually, I tried one of my tactics from earlier, and it worked absolutely perfect this time. Once they were dealt with, I went to talk with Preston, and then did not go outside to deal with the raiders, but to travel to Park Street Station and save Nick. Inside, I took a heck of a lot of damage from the Triggerman's automatic weapons, but was able to slowly kill them. I decided I'd just run past most of them, as it was taking a lot of time to kill them, and I didn't want to deal with that. This, of course, led to me fighting Dino with all the guys who ended up following me in there. I decided to stay high and get shot by as many people as possible, and slowly started thinning their ranks. I then found this water fountain, which was a huge save, as I was essentially invincible when I was constantly drinking. Eventually the Triggermen took all themselves out except for me, Dino, and the 2 bat guys. I started to get worried that Dino might be immune to my powers of deflection, but with only a 1% chance for automatic weapons to deflect, it just took some time. Once he was dead, I kept drinking and getting wailed on over and over and over and over and over and over again, till this guy's bat rebonked him for the last time. I then talked to Nick and killed more triggermen on the way out as we escaped the vault. Once outside, I decided to head to Sanctuary and upgrade what armor I could. Then, go back to Diamond City for more stim packs and to buy some fusion cores. After that, I headed back to the museum to finally finish off those raiders and free Preston. I also wanted to come back for this power armor. Killing the raiders went well until the Deathclaw got involved. As you could probably guess, I can't really do anything to this Deathclaw, so I had to just have Preston take care of it, which he eventually did. I then went back to Diamond City to talk to Nick and steal the key to Kelly's house. We then rummaged through Kelly's house, and I went outside to tell Dogmeat to go find the cyborg. My video then decided to not record, and all I got was me waiting at Fort Hagen. So I waited, then began my assault. Thankfully there was a trusty water fountain right inside that I could use to heal myself, while I told the synths to stop shooting themselves. They didn't listen. The fight with Kellogg was interesting, as I had to initiate it through dialogue because I couldn't shoot first. Or punch first, which is the first time I've ever done that in a Kellogg fight. I took the high ground, and he was foolish enough to shoot me and kill himself. I then found what I needed on his computer and watched the Brotherhood arrive. It was also at this point I decided I was going to side with them. Because I wanted to, so I did. Siding with them meant I needed to complete Arcjet with Dance, so we waltzed our way over there, and I tried to kill the synths inside, but I guess Dance wanted to make sure he got more elims than me, because he seemed to decimate all the synths throughout the mission. I only got one kill the entire time. I then got the deep range transmitter, and exited the building. My next move was to reunite with Nick, so I headed over to Diamond City, talked to him and Piper, and then headed off to Good Neighbor. Before we got started, I wanted to have fun, so I found a large bucket and tried to place it on everybody's head. It was not successful on Nick's head, but I was quite successful with getting it to stay on the dock's dome. After I had my fun with the bucket, I decided to head into the dream sequence to skip the boring stuff, go back outside and have success with the Nick vs. Bucket challenge, and then head off to the glowing sea. On the way out, I got this cool shot of the gradual change in weather as you approach the glowing sea, so I decided I'd include it. Anyways, I spoke to Virgil, headed to Green Tech, where I got destroyed the first round by Rocket Guy, then successfully made it to the Courser on the second, who was not very effective against me given my ample supply of stim packs. Don't worry, I was annoyed too when I got the kill and immediately opened my Pimp Boy, but I didn't want to do the fight again, so too bad. I then left, went to the railroad, got the chip decoded, and returned to Virgil. Then returned to the police station to talk to Dance to catch a ride up to the Pridwood. I successfully arrived, listened to Maxon's speech, and also trashed the room while I listened to his speech, then ran around the ship and talked to all the peeps, and prepared for my encounter with the Behemoth. Ah, the Behemoth. On arrival to Fort Strong, I took so many frickin' rounds, which sounded something like this. Who am I kidding? That sentence didn't make any sense. It sounded exactly like that. Anyways, eventually I started killing off the mutants one by one. And I thought my perk would work on the Behemoth, because, he throws rocks, but yeah, it definitely doesn't work on him. I tried for a very long time to get it to, and it never did. With no options, I just went right up to the guy and let him wail on me. As he wailed on me, I could see his health bar move a little bit with each hit, so I knew it would just take time. But I wanted to finish the ones inside first. So I was able to take out all of the guys with guns, no problem, and eventually take out the melee units too. I then headed outside to finish off the big guy, which I eventually did. After that, I went back inside to speak with Dance, and then speak with Robo-Legs, who seemed to be experiencing a malfunction in her lower half. I showed her the plans and got to work building the teleporter. Went to go buy more stim packs, and then teleported myself into the Institute. Once inside the Institute, I ran over to the elevator, wrote it down, talked to Father, and then ran around and talked to all of his eggheads. I then left because I needed to get proof of Virgil's experiments in order to get the doc to trust me. However, I did not have a high enough lock skill to do so, so I went back to Sanctuary to build fences and level up to get the advanced lockpick perk. Once I acquired the perk, I returned to the FEV lab, where I died on my first attempt, as I should have realized getting on a computer with a nearly fully charged Assaultron behind you is not a good idea. On my second attempt, I managed to trap the metal killing machine behind this door so it could no longer harass me. After that, I successfully got what I needed for the doctor on the computer and told her of a job well done. I then told Maxon of a job well done, who gave me my next mission, which was to help the new doc and Ingram by fixing Liberty Prime. So I built some magnets, then waved my way out to the glowing sea to secure some nukes. I had some trouble at the site because I was unable to convince the Atomite to let me pass, so I ran down and tried to get the ghouls to kill him and Adam's Wrath. That unfortunately did not work. My only other option was to resort to standing still out in the open and getting shot by the cultist and going behind cover in order not to get melted. This eventually worked, and I was able to open the doors and then hide from the Assaultron, who for some reason completely ignored me once I was initially hidden. I decided not to tempt fate and quickly laid down the pulse transmitter and got out of there. My next mission was to track down Dance, who I said I would let go as I couldn't kill him, and I'd never done this in a playthrough before. This led to an interesting interaction between Dance, Maxon, and I, where I had to convince Maxon to let Dance live, as I didn't want to end up having to fight him or kill Dance. With that out of the way, I was sent to the railroad to wipe them out. Inside, I had a comical amount of enemies bunched together trying to take me out. Would have been excellent for a grenade or a rocket launcher. But all I could do was stand there like a rock and slowly wait till they all died. Which eventually they did, falling like little stones in front of the bigger stone, which was me of course, as I could be unmoved and basically undamaged with the amount of stim packs I had. I then finally killed the doctor. After that, I was able to activate the bomb and enter the railroad's main base. They all fell before me. Glory fell first, and then I moved on to Desdemona, who decided to pull out a new trick using her railway rifle. She bent the laws of space and physics, and I lost control of my character. Eventually I found out that it was just a railroad spike stuck in the armor, but was pretty confused as I was shot all over the room. Once I freed myself from Desdemona's strange weapon, I stood over her until her and all the other railroad members had fallen. It was then back to Ingram, and up and away to Mass Fusion, where I had a heck of a time in the reactor. Turns out sentry bots aren't affected by the ricochet perk. I found this out because I stood still for a really long time, and never got it to go off. The only way I could get past this section was to have Ingram follow me down and shoot the robot while I trapped it behind my suit of power armor. Eventually, she took the big boy out along with both of the Assaultrons. The only way I helped with the Assaultrons was occasionally being a meat shield. We then went back and activated Liberty Prime, and I made my way to CIT Ruins, where I hid in a little trailer as I watched Prime laser his way into the Institute. Once inside, I talked to Maxon and got the charge, and made my way through the robots. The fight inside was pretty fun. I was able to reject, reflect, rebound, repulse, and ricochet all the lasers back at the scrubs, whence they came from. Once the outer defenses finally fell, I got to the terminal and deactivated the lockdown. And then I messed with a group of synths outside before finally heading into the reactor. I took out a turret on my way to the reactor, and on arrival took all the drugs to prepare myself for the hailstorm, including the soup. I was able to kill nearly all the enemies in that single clip I just showed you. Maxon then finished off the rest, and I took the code from one of the legendary synths, opened the door, and messed around with an interesting glitch. Anyways, I placed the charge and then got teleported out of there. I ignored Robo-Sean and TP'd out of there again to the detonation site. I then activated the bomb and beat Fallout 4 with only ricochets and rebounds. Thank you for watching, please subscribe to the video, and comment down below if you want me to try any particular challenge next. This is Legomygun, signing off.